I'd be lost without you.
Ooh, girl, take me down your hatch. Wait, not your hatch.
And that concludes our recap.
I meant to say the hatch, not your hatch. That's a whole nother story.
Well, hi, guys.
Welcome to
Hot Mess Moments.
Welcome to Hot Mess Moments, our season 2, episode 1 recap of Lost.
I'm very excited to chat about this. Before we get going, because for those that are understanding our new format, we just wrapped up The Nanny, and we didn't introduce ourselves until literally the end. So let's do it the other way here. Let's start off by introducing ourselves. My name is Beth Dixon, also known as Augusta with 11 on my social medias and on my Twitch channel. And my favorite show is The Nanny, which Dylan hasn't seen, but we are going to talk about Lost, a show that he absolutely loves. It's his favorite show. But I've never seen it. So this is the first time you're going to hear my breakdown of season 2, episode 1. It's the first time I've seen it. Dylan, who are you?
My name is Dylan Zahner, also known as 8-Bit Dylan online. You can check me out on Twitter at 8-Bit Dylan. That is the number 8, BITDYLAN. You can also find me on Twitch, Instagram, all that stupid social media bullshit. Stuff. You can also follow us at Hot Mess Moments on Twitter.
Yes.
Go check that out. Make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Check us out on Spotify, and for the video version, free of charge on YouTube if you want it. Let's be real, you're not missing much. It's just us looking dead into a camera.
It's just us being like, actually, that's not true. I think we're actually very entertaining to watch.
Oh my God, thank you.
That was more for me. I'm in Leo. I like looking at myself. So,
oh my gosh. But if this is your first time tuning into Hot Mess Moments, just know that this is completely spoiler free. So what you're about to hear us talk about in Lost is Beth's literal first reactions to this episode, unspoiled completely, does not know what is going to happen further on into season 2. These are raw, unfiltered theories and thoughts. So please try to avoid, if you are in the comment section, correcting Beth if there is anything that ends up happening later on, because that's the joy of this podcast.
Well, first of all, don't ever plan on correcting me, because I am 100% right all the time.
Oh, I have to break it down to you. That's not true.
I'm 100% right. I know I'm right. I'm always right, and y'all motherfuckers can't tell me shit, bitch. Okay, no. So
okay,
that's
no, but
one.
Some of your season 1 predictions did end up coming true, like John Locke knocking Saeed out. You did.
I called it. No, listen. All I'm saying is that I know what I'm talking about. I'm very psychic. No, but there were things that we'll talk about in season 2, episode 1, that I kind of predicted to a certain extent, or I thought that this is where we were going to continue on with the story, even if this doesn't maintain the storyline much farther. This is, I definitely picked up on what they were putting down, I think, on Exodus part 1 and 2 of season 1.
Yeah, I had mentioned before, just to preface this, Beth and I watch the episodes together, but we are muted, but we have our face cams on so we can see each other's reactions. But then we don't talk about it until we actually record these episodes. But before we had watched these episodes, I had told Beth that I felt like season 2's premiere needed to be a 2-parter because this episode only really focuses on one storyline from season 1.
Yeah.
That's about it. That doesn't really
And what's so funny about this is that I had made the prediction that they would continue to separate out these two groups. So the raft group and the island group, or the hatch group, I think I'll call them now. And so when we didn't see anything from the raft group, except for, we do see a little bit of Walt, but
there's some theories we can come up with there.
Theories, which will be 100% right.
We'll
so
see.
get it together. So here's the other thing. So let me tell everybody listening / watching what I do know about this series. Okay. Going into the show, I knew it was about people who had been on a plane crash and were abandoned on an island, and the island was weird and mysterious and had
Yep.
I knew that there was a creature of some sort, but I didn't know what it was. I called it a shadow creature because I just felt like it lived in the shadows. Then it literally was a freaking shadow, like smoke thing.
Yeah.
And I was just literally like, damn, bitch, I got that. That's another one for me, even though that
Yeah,
literally wasn't.
you did kind of predict that. Yeah.
That was pretty great. But I didn't know that it was a smoke or shadow monster. I did know that there was a hatch because of the Emmys opening with Conan O'Brien. I knew that there was a hatch of some sort. I also knew that Michelle Rodriguez is in this, and Michelle Rodriguez's name is in the credits in the opening part of this. So I also knew that there was.
I was hoping you didn't see that, but yes, Michelle Rodriguez is in the credits.
But it's also like even if she wasn't a big star or whatever, the way that they presented her in a memory, it just seems so weird that they would present her and have that memory that seemingly didn't connect to anything else.
Yeah.
If they weren't planning to prep her as somebody that you would be able to meet in season 2. So regardless, those are the things I know. There's one more thing I know that I haven't told you, and that it's a it's a person that I know is cast, and I just don't know how or where or whatever. It's to do with glasses, because I saw him on the show Person of Interest, and which I loved that show when it came on.
Oh, I know you're talking.
He's like a real computer guy in that show or whatever.
Yes,
I know he's in Lost. I don't know when or how or what he does or anything like that. So I know that there were more characters that I haven't met yet. I'm aware of that. I don't know who they are, what roles they play, anything like that. That is my extensive knowledge of the show. I don't know anything else. So everything I say from here on out is purely speculation, but is 100% correct.
Exactly. Who needs theory? Who needs a scientific theory when all your hypotheses are correct?
My notes are so bad for this. I couldn't even tell you what the beginning scenes were because my first note is just Jack is such a prick.
Okay. I did take somewhat decent notes, sort of the chronological order of stuff, so we can talk about this. But overall, what is your rating of this episode?
I thought this was a really good episode. I'm going to give this, I think, a 9 out of 10 here. I think the only reason why I didn't give a 10 out of 10 was purely because I was hoping to see the raft crew and like the after effects of that. But honestly, like that's really, if anything, it anticipates, like I'm anticipating that's what we're going to see in the next episode is catching up with that crew. And maybe we don't see as much from the hatch. And I have a feeling what they might do is alternate episodes throughout season 2, where like you have the hatch crew for one episode, you have this for the next episode. Maybe they don't do it all the time, but maybe they have it so like one episode is more heavily in one camp than the other, and you only check in a little bit, which I think makes sense. But I think what it does is it builds up the anticipation of what's happening with those two big plot points. So this is a Jack-centered episode. We open up with season 1 also was a Jack-centered episode.
Yep.
What was the first character, that we get a centered episode on. So we get to see that here too, which is kind of cool. And they kind of mirror it a little bit like that.
So I want to get your thoughts on this first scene right as we get into season 2 of this mysterious man seemingly going about his day. Some of the decorations look odd. Some of the music that's played is a bit weird. Everything seems a bit off.
So I didn't know what the name of the song was. It sounded like it was like an early 60s kind of song. It was on a record player.
You want kind of music. Make your own special song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That song. Yeah.
So he gets up and he's immediately like working out and he's making first of all, he had milk.
Oh, I thought you meant his mommy milkers.
Oh no, I'm sitting there, I'm like, that shit would have spoiled. I knew he was in the hatch from the get-go. I knew that this was the hatch.
For sure.
What I thought was interesting was how light it was on the inside, which does tell me that my theory that it's kind of tunneled out is probably true, and that there were probably openings that are really well covered, but not too, that are shallow enough in the dirt
Yeah.
or whatever, so that it's really
Yeah.
camouflaged well. We see him take some kind of injection. So I
Mhm.
think that is key. My theory, I have two theories. So both of them are right.
Of course.
One of them is the injection is either something that he takes to resist the others so he doesn't get sick,
Okay.
or it's what he takes to be more powerful as a part of the others, and that he is a either guardian or like weapon of some sort,
Okay.
like a steroid or something that they keep down there, because
He's just like
clearly
this yoked kind of super strong guy.
yeah, he's super strong and he's got a lot of guns and shit down there.
Yeah. Oof.
So
that armory.
he's got an armory, he's good to go. So he is also like, this is what's confusing too to me. So maybe it's not that it's shallow in the dirt or whatever, because it's light.
Yeah.
It could be that he's blocking out other like offices, tunnels, and such, because he gets up seemingly in the morning, but we know the hatch blows up at night.
Yeah.
So it's not bright outside.
Well, I think we see his day. So we see like his entire day from that morning until the moment that the explosion happens, because there's like he exercises numerous times. He like doesn't, there's not much to do down there, so he's just like plays some music. That's the tough part with this, is the timeline is kind of confusing because he plays a record and the record seemingly is playing all the way up until the explosion happens.
Yes.
You're not sure if that's just
The same.
a production like thing to have the music play throughout, or if like he's actually playing the song and it's like before the end of the song the explosion happens. But
Yeah.
I like to think that it's like a production thing where they're like, he plays
That
the
makes
record
more sense.
and they just have the music playing just because to like set the scene.
I'd have to watch the beginning again though, because it seemed like when he started to put things away and get into action, some of the windows were still a little bright. So that to me, that's
maybe.
the only
I might have
thing.
missed that.
I'd have to watch it again though. I could just be remembering incorrectly. That's different from being wrong about my theories. Okay. But I genuinely think that this is a situation where you've got someone who is either been by himself and this is what he's doing to keep safe, but he doesn't get down there alone. Like, so this is like,
so you think like he hasn't always been down there alone?
Well, like, how would he have built that by himself? Like, this had to be built beforehand. And so, but it also only opens from the inside. So this tells me that he's trying more so to like repel the others. And so I think he thinks that, this is skipping to the very end, I think that he thinks that those that have found the hatch are the others. I don't think that he knows that there are others who aren't others. That's a weird sentence to say.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
And we also, let me just round it out about this guy too. Blatantly obvious who this was. I thought I was a genius, and then I realized, no, they literally were like, here's the dude. So in one of the memories that Jack has, we see him, which the only reason why I clocked him immediately, I was like, that guy's the same shoulders as the guy in the very beginning. I clocked the physique. So the guy that Jack talks to in one of his memories, the Scottish athlete guy who was very competitive. And so was Jack. He was like, oh, you thought you were going to catch up with me? And he gives him advice. How he's going to be a doctor, but then he also says he's going to travel around the world. And I was like, nail and coffin. We know he's traveling. Okay, he got to the island, and what? And then at the very end, we have the gag. Oh my God, Jack sees the guy. But does the guy recognize him? We don't know. We won't find out until the next episode, potentially. Maybe episode 3.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I do. There is a line that the man. I'm not going to say their name.
Don't say their name.
It's been revealed yet. But that man says a line to Jack that ends up
You need to lift it or raise it. That
no.
one? Oh.
It ends up just kind of being like a saying that people love. And
Mm.
it's like, see you in another life, brother. Like, and it's
Oh.
like, it's this thing that like, I don't know why, but that line really took off in the Lost
Mm.
community. There's like shirts with that on it. There is mugs with that on it,
Does it get repeated again?
I think.
Oh, okay.
But it's like something about that line people fucking went crazy for. Like, see
Wow.
you in another life, brother. And yeah, so
See, I would have gone for you need to raise it or lift it or whatever that line was
yeah,
that he'd like pointedly looked at Jack and then he was like, your ankle. And I was like, no, he means something else. And what I thought he meant in that moment was like, you need to like, you know how like a faith thing is like to raise something up, to give something up, to
yeah.
like that kind of thing. That's what I thought he was saying is like, you need to have a little bit more faith. You need to have a little bit more like leap of giving
Yeah,
up control and freedom. That's what I thought he was really trying to say. And I was like, ooh, that's good. And then I thought maybe like, what if that is, okay. So, in Signs / in Scary Movie 3, our favorite movie, when they go swing away and like
yeah,
how she literally meant that as like take all your chances like because in
yeah.
Signs that character swung every single time. He had the most strikeouts in baseball, but he also had like one of the best like home run amounts or something because like every
Okay,
time he
yeah.
connected with the ball he hit the ball hard. And so everybody made fun of him because he never let a strike or let a pitch go by. He always swung every single time. And that's why the character says swing away. And it means literally swing,
Yeah,
in baseball, that, but it also meant metaphorically, like, if that is how you want to live life and like not let anything pass you by, go for it, swing away. And so that's what I'm thinking. I thought that would be the phrase from that. And maybe it still is. That would be
might be.
stick around from that
Yeah.
conversation.
So, how do you want to tackle this? Do you want us to do the present day flashbacks first? Do you want us to? There is like the very brief side story with like Shannon trying to find Vincent.
Let's do that really quickly.
Okay.
So my first note about this is I can't believe Shannon already lost Vincent. JK knew that would happen.
But that
So
scene was so creepy.
it was creepy. That was very
Yeah.
it was very, I have to be quiet. I have to remember I'm not in a building by myself anymore. And like it's
Yeah.
fully 12:03 in the morning. I need to be quiet. So sorry. And like my neighbor is on the other side of this wall sleeping. I'm assuming. But anyway, so Shannon is looking for Vincent. She can't find him, which is like, I understand this dog means a lot. You just try to find him, but it's nighttime and the dog has gone off before and has come back fine. And I think it's better to like, if you
Just wait
can't
till
find him
morning.
immediately, wait till morning when there's light. But she's
Yeah.
very manic about it. And she's not listening to
Yeah.
Saeed, who says the same thing that I just said.
Yeah, she definitely like is frazzled in this moment because like we saw in season 1 because of the death of Boone, she attributed a lot of her emotional labor onto the dog. Like
Yeah.
and so to lose the dog means that she is losing like that support system.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where we see Vincent just sitting there is so fucking eerie.
So
Like,
this is what I think is
ooh,
interesting. I thought Vincent was leading them somewhere. And I feel
yeah,
like Vincent can see the visions. I think that Vincent can sense the
okay,
guardians. I think Vincent has like, just like dogs do have a sense that like of things happening that like humans don't have. I
yeah,
think that Vincent is very in tune with what's happening on the island and that kind of thing. And so he led her to where this vision, actual Walt, dream Walt, whatever it is, was going to be, and
yeah.
then goes away because she falls when she's trying to follow him because, girl, you can't do shit. You can't chase
Yeah.
a dog. I'm sorry.
No, you can't do shit.
You can't do shit. I also like that Saeed goes, I'll go around him. And like, I was like, there's no way you're going to get around him before he starts running, like in the middle of a jungle, regardless.
Yeah.
So Then she sees Walt and he's all wet. He's like has water coming out of his eyes. It looks like someone is literally probably right off of the camera behind him going and pouring
Well,
water down him.
did you realize they're not going to talk about it, but Walt is clearly older here by like a solid year. Like
Well, yeah.
he is definitely taller and definitely older here. And this is where you're going to start getting to the moments where like the director and like the production team are going to have to try and find ways to make Walt not look as old as he is, because when they filmed this, he definitely had a growth spurt.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to say is like, in the same way that we have to remember that like the actor who plays Hurley is not going to just like magically lose all of this weight like the character would be on the island. Like Walt is what, a 12-year-old kid that during that year, like that's over that summer is when every kid just goes like sprouts right up.
Yep.
I actually didn't really even notice how big he was in comparison, to be honest with you. That was not what I focused on.
I think they did a good job. I think because this is my second time watching season 1 and realizing how young Walt looks. To see him in this scene, I was just like, oh wow. Like
I noticed it mostly with his teeth. Like his teeth didn't look as big in his mouth anymore. They looked like he'd kind of grown into them a little bit more.
Yeah, it was definitely like, because I think there was a year in between season 1 and season 2. And so I think going forward, they were like trying to quickly produce stuff because they're like, fuck, shit. Like, we have to make sure that people aren't like getting too old because it doesn't make any sense. Like, if we have like even the actors, like even like the actors like on the island, because it's only been a month, so they're like, shit, we don't want like Jack to end up looking like he's like fucking 3 years older because it took us so long to produce a season. So. Yeah,
that's definitely good things to think about, because I will probably call it out in the future.
They're trying their best.
So we do have that moment. My theory about Walt appearing is I don't think that was actually Walt. In the same way, I think it was a vision similar to how Locke had a vision of Boone in his. Was that his dream? I can't remember.
That was it was like a vision.
It wasn't when he was dreaming, though. He was awake and he he
was awake.
Okay.
Or I think he might have been. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. No. He was awake when he had the vision of Boone, but he was dreaming. I don't remember. But regardless, like, I think it's something very similar to that.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting here is like, because Boone died on the island, I could see them coming up with something of like, Boone's trying to send Shannon messages to like help people or something like that. I could also see this being a means of like pre-warning. And now that this might be the thing that helps her reconcile with Locke, because Locke had visions and was able to see Boone like this. And I think that her vision of Walt isn't supposed to necessarily represent what has happened thus far to Walt, but might be what may happen to Walt.
Okay.
Because the vision that Locke has is the future. Like, Boone hasn't died yet. He's bloody, and he's going to be bloody in that exact way. But he hasn't died yet. So Walt is all wet and such, but he never went in the water. He got right into the boat.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He never got wet, and it was also really creepy. I'm so sorry. We're recording this very late at night.
Yeah, we are.
So it was also really creepy because the whispers lead up to Walt actually showing up here. And
that's why I thought it might be a Boone, like, and like the dead that have died on the island that weren't a part of. I think that's them trying to lead people somewhere. I think that they're good whispers, but like obviously it's super creepy. So like, why would you want to listen to them at first?
Yeah, and also Walt is speaking backwards when the vision shows up. He's like,
"Oh,
God," like he's like saying something really creepy backwards.
And he was going like this, right?
Yeah, he's like, shh, like don't like don't say anything or don't like do anything out of the ordinary. I'm trying to see if it says anywhere what he said and if
I
it's
don't know if I want to know.
yeah, I don't know if I think it might have been just incoherent babbling. Like I don't
Yeah.
know if it's like he actually says something of significance, but
Yeah.
um after this specific scene with the vision, do you think this will do anything to Shannon? Do you think that like she'll act on this? Like
I
what do you
think
think's
that
going to
this is going
happen?
to push her to be a little bit more involved. Like Saeed's been very involved. He's heard the voices. I think that this is going to potentially bring the two of them closer together with that shared experience and like make her want to do things in order to like better understand the island. And I think that like with Boone's death, like that will funnel her to be like to confront Locke again. And like I think Locke will
Yeah.
be able to share that he's had that too. And that's why I think that there'll be a reconciliation of some sort. She's still a bitch, so I don't know what will happen there. So
Eat shit, Shannon.
so one more thing that's about this is because obviously everyone is freaking out before we get to like the main part here.
Yeah.
Everyone's freaking out because she comes back and she's explaining what happened. And like this makes no sense. This is honestly the biggest part of the episode that makes absolutely no sense from a writing standpoint.
Yeah.
Charlie doesn't believe in the others now. Like he wasn't fucking kidnapped by them.
Yeah. So
What is that?
it's really weird. So he is like of the mindset currently that Ethan acted alone and was like kidnapping Claire for their own purposes, and that Rousseau had made up a lie about the others to try and still steal Claire's baby. But a part of me is like, weird train of thought there, Charlie. Very strange to not believe that they're not real. It's either that
Also, Claire has told you there are others, and you're supposed to believe her and everything.
yeah, but it's also like I don't know if he's saying that like there are no others on the island or that there are no others coming to attack because
Regardless,
yeah,
he should not be in that mindset. I don't understand that. That
it's
to me
weird.
makes
Yeah.
no writing sense. It's not consistent. Unless they're trying to build it up to be like he's on drugs and he's not making coherent sense or something, which could be the case.
Could be.
Because we know he brought the heroin back. So I don't know.
It is interesting though, in this scene, and this kind of ties into the Hatch storyline. I thought it was really interesting that we get a moment to recognize Arts.
Yeah.
I was like very shocked that they kind of brought this back up. Really showcase that like maybe Arts did play a bigger role to some of the as I'm going to call them NPCs, the other extras. Maybe he did play a bigger role amongst them because there was a very solid reaction from them being like, "Oh my God, Arts is dead!" Like, holy crap!
I mean, there's only 40 people. If one person dies, that's a big deal. And you've
Yeah.
only been together for a month. So, like,
I also
I would
have to
also.
give. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I would also be freaked out. I'd be like, shit, somebody died and they were doing something for us.
I have to give them credit though. There is consistency. I thought there wasn't going to be consistency. There is consistency amongst these extra actors because Steve is there from season one, the one they always make memes about, who is like this extra that they kind of joke about all the time. I noticed Steve was there, and I also noticed I think the one person that was new was the girl who spoke at the very beginning to Jack. Or to whoever that was. And I've never seen her before.
Where the fuck is Rose?
For real, though, where the fuck is Rose?
Like, how are they going to have this huge beginning storyline and have one huge moment in the middle of the season and then not do jack fuck all with her for the rest of the time? Like, where I'm like most intrigued by her. She's the one that like I'm most like, I want her to be well. I hope where's she at? If I find out that they're like, oh, we recast her, I'm going to be like,
no, I can guarantee you they do not recast
thank God.
Rose. And I will say there is more Rose. So don't worry. Okay. They didn't just like forget about Rose. But yeah,
No,
she's
they
not.
did.
She's not
They
in this
said, fuck
episode.
Rose. We're going to do some bullshit with Shannon
They said fuck
instead.
Rose and everything she stands for.
But other than, and here's the other thing that didn't make sense writing wise. Okay. I know this is out of order, but when the hatch crew comes back to the caves and explains like they're going to wait until the morning and like go back to the hatch in the morning and that kind of thing, Locke says the hatch is about a half mile away. So you mean to tell me the whole time nobody drifted when Boone and him were out for hours, they were only a
Yeah.
half mile away? A. B, they just blew shit up a half mile away and nobody heard it.
Right?
That
Yeah,
is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like I was like, come on, like this is lazy writing. This you could have
It's
easily
very
said
inconsistent.
it's so inconsistent. You could have easily said 2 miles away, and I've been a mile and a half away. I would have gotten that. A half mile away, you can see things within a half
I'm looking this
mile.
up. I'm looking this up if they ever retcon that.
It was so bad.
Okay, so there is not ever an official map of the island.
Okay.
But there have been fan-made recreations of the island based off everything that happens in the show. And let me see. I'm going to see if that's like consistent. Yeah, maybe it is pretty close to the beach camp, which is kind of weird.
I'm just like, if this was supposed to be some big hidden thing that only Boone and Locke knew about, and that they were going off into the jungle and nobody ever saw them, and this was a huge thing, and how they found it originally is that they'd been tracking something to try to find Claire and Charlie, and they went off in a different direction. Like, it just seems to me like it's so weird that it's so close to the camp.
Agreed.
Because when I think like a half mile for me, Dylan will understand this. Like a half mile to me is like a 15-minute walk.
Okay, yeah.
Not even, it's like a 10 to 15-minute
Yeah.
walk. Now, if you're hiking through woods and such, like, and I understand that it's not like if you're like in a city or something where you might not have like a clear view of what's happening in front of you. Like I understand that, but I'm also like a half mile in the woods, you can hear stuff. I don't know.
It is strange. I'm also looking at like a more updated map from nowadays, and it's all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't think there is ever a consistent.
All they had to do was up it by a mile, and I wouldn't have thought twice about it.
So what it does appear, based off the most recent map, it kind of is only about half a mile away from the caves, but from the beach camp, it is like a significant amount. Like,
which that's fine. Again, the vast majority, if not everybody, is at the caves in this exact moment, and nobody heard dynamite a half mile away.
They're like, oh, did someone fart? Like, it was just
like the back. Okay, I gotta stop there. This is too much at this point. Regardless, so like. Me just calling out the writers there.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the
main storyline.
The main storyline with the hatch. So one of the first shots that we see is kind of like exactly where we left off, with everybody looking down in the hatch, and we get to see them.
Yeah, the telescope with the mirrors. So that way the man is able to see who might be up there. So maybe this man had been like preparing for this moment at some point, or kind of knew, because that I will state that mirror didn't have any dust on it. So it seemed like maybe that they had like set this up preparing just in case, because maybe they like heard people mucking about up there and like set this up just in case.
And we do know that the light had turned on beforehand when Locke had been trying to get on it and such. So I definitely think that there was the idea of like, okay, we know that people are trying to break it. Like, we've seen things coming down, and that probably had like woken him up, and he'd been preparing for that. I totally agree with that. But I still think that, like, again, first of all, I thought that was a really cool, complicated like system of mirrors. I thought that was really
neat.
So we see all of that. We see the, Locke, Kate, and Jack looking down the hatch. And we immediately start off with Jack just being a frickin' prick. Like, he's really going after Locke. And Locke is not doing anything to antagonize him.
Yeah.
We just see, like, I know that Jack has been through a lot, and I know that, like, he has a lot of pressure of leadership, that some of it had been put onto him, but now he's just taking it on. And he does not handle things well. Like, he just
He does
doesn't
not.
handle things well.
Yeah.
He needs to do that thing where he counts to 5 and just like he
Which
did in the
was
first
nice that
episode.
we got kind of a rehash of
Yes,
that from Kate.
we did.
Where
I
she,
liked that.
yeah.
So we see that Jack is of the mindset of, we don't know what's down there, and it's nighttime and we can't figure out how to get down there. I think we need to go back to the caves and come back tomorrow and see if this is something that can be used to get 40
Yeah.
people down there. Kate and Jack or Locke find out and kind of estimate, I think this is about 40, 50 feet. I think we can easily get people down there. We can hoist people down there one at a time. We'll get a cable. This will be great. And they were like, we can't do that. It's not an efficient system. It's at night. We don't know what's down there. Like, this is a bad idea, which I do agree with Jack in this situation. Let's
Yeah.
not mess with something at night that we just blew open. Like, I understand the urgency
Totally.
of trying to hide from the others, but I also want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in danger for something else.
Yeah.
So we have these two camps of people. You have the Hurley and Jack, who are steadfast and let's not go in there. Hurley, of course, doesn't believe that the hatch brings anything good because the numbers are cursed. He explains that to Jack.
Ooh, girl, this moment is... I love that Hurley calls him out here.
No, I'm like, honestly, Jack is doing nothing but being a fucking prick to people because of their beliefs and like all that kind of stuff, because he doesn't have any kind of faith, which I understand why. I am a true believer that, like, the best way to maneuver life and to make sense of things is to have a little bit of faith and to have a little bit of science and logic, right? You need to have a balance. If you were too one-sided on one, you are not going to have the balance. If you are too logical, you cannot understand why people would do things, and that makes you illogical at the end of the day. It can drive you crazy. It can make you not be able to connect with people. If you were too fantasiful, or whatever it's called, if you cannot think of things logically, if you could only think of things faith-wise, then you cannot function in a way that makes sense in this world. So you have to have a balance.
Which is why this episode is called Man of Science, Man of Faith. Yeah.
And I mean, I knew that this was going to happen. I talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago when we discussed the finale, that we were setting up for this Jack versus Locke thing. But I love that even though Hurley and Jack are on the same side, Jack is still invalidating somebody because he's like, let me tell you about my past. And he tells him everything. And Jack is just kind of like, they're not bad luck. And it's like, dude, you were on a fucking island that makes no sense. You don't think the numbers might mean something? Even if it doesn't logically mean something, let's have a little bit of like, there's something else here.
Well, yeah, it's not just that. I think the even worse part about this is Hurley kind of pleads his soul and tells his backstory, is very vulnerable with Jack. And all Jack can say is, you were in a psych ward? Like,
yeah, what the fuck was that?
And Hurley's like, I just told you all this, and that's what you're going to focus on?
Also, remember that time that you invalidated the pregnant woman for having thoughts and dreams and shit, and that shit was true? So why don't you fucking check yourself, you douche? Like, seriously, I honestly, I'm going to tell you all right now, this is probably not a spoiler. Jack is my LVP. I think he will perpetually be my LVP in this season. Like, if he's going to continue to act like this, like, I honestly think he could just choke on a bag of dicks. Like, I honestly can't stand him.
I would love to see that.
I think that'd be a good porn. I'd love that.
So after this specific scene, after this fight, everyone... Oh, sorry.
So there's one more thing I want to touch on with this.
Yeah, go for it.
The thing that I think is also really interesting here is that we also see Kate and Locke have their moment of kind of like...
That's true.
Of connecting and such. And I think that that's a really interesting scenario, because it's clear that, like, first of all, we know that Kate is doing anything and everything that she can in order to find a way to, like, more ingrain herself here, because if she gets rescued, she's going to jail.
For sure.
And so there's more. I think that she sees herself aligning more with Locke, because Locke clearly doesn't want to leave this island either. So she understands their shared motivation there, which I think was really cool for them to touch on in this scene.
Yeah. No, I really liked it. It allowed Kate to kind of not be in Jack's shadow for once and
Yes.
like interact with some of the other characters that are on this island outside of Sun, because we really only see
Mm-hmm.
Kate interact with Sun. So it was very interesting. I also think that the conversation that Jack has with Locke kind of showcases just maybe how unhinged Locke is.
Mm-hmm.
Really not giving a shit about the survival of everyone else and focusing only on his goal of getting in this hatch.
Mm-hmm.
He is just so hell bent on thinking that he will find his answers in this hatch that Jack is trying to, like, as shitty as a character as Jack is
Mm-hmm.
here, he is trying his best to be a leader, even though he's a shitty leader, of being
Yeah.
like, we can't get anyone in this hatch. We need to refocus our efforts. Let's bring the dynamite back to camp, or back to the caves, to maybe defend against these like others who are about to attack all of our people. And Locke's just
Yeah.
kind of like, nah,
I don't
I
want to
would,
go in. And
yeah,
here's the thing, if that's what I like about Kate being the one that kind of goes with him,
yeah,
is because Kate is actually really good at playing check with people.
yeah,
And she does it a lot with Jack, but Jack has gotten like resistant to Kate at this point. And I feel like Locke needs someone like Kate who is assertive and independent, not like Boone. Boone was dependent. He was not independent.
yeah,
Kate is independent and like the epitome of it. This is exciting. And I hope that this continues like with Kate, even if
yeah.
she's like a duo with Locke. The way that they write her character sets it up so that she's willing to do what she wants when she wants it. And that's what I needed from
Yeah,
her.
she definitely is taking way more risks, as we see later after they go to the caves, and Kate just kind of admits to Jack that she's going to go. She's going to
Mm-hmm.
go to the hatch tonight, because after they learn from Charlie and everyone that Rousseau may have been lying about the others, which we kind of already touched on a little bit,
Yeah.
that gives Locke even more reason to go tonight, because he's
Yeah.
like, well, we opened it, so there's no others, so I'm gonna go now.
Yeah.
And so Kate kind of tags along with that and is like, yeah, I'm gonna go do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we get this like really cool scene, because like Locke has gathered all the cables and heads there. I want to know your thoughts about this whole scene of Locke and Kate going down into this hatch, and what ends up happening to Kate.
Yeah. So I love that Locke is like, okay, so I'm going to tie you up and you're going to go down. And she's like, what? But she
Excuse
didn't.
me?
She doesn't really challenge it. She's just kind of like, okay. I mean, she doesn't do it like that, but so she goes
I
down,
guess.
and as she's getting, pulled down or whatever, my favorite part here is that she goes, "What should I tell you if I want you to stop?" And he's like, "Stop." And I was like, and I literally unmuted the mic, and I will say this joke again here. And I was like, tell me that you have a BDSM kink without telling me that you have a BDSM kink. Tell me you have a safe word without telling me you have a safe word.
Oh my
Like
god.
like the fact that she wouldn't just think of being like, stop. It's like the means to stop. I was like, But regardless, so she gets hoisted down, and then the cable starts to fray and break. And so Locke has to pull even harder, and she keeps getting dropped a little bit and a little bit and a little bit,
Yep.
and eventually gets dropped all the way down. Well, first she drops her flashlight, so that gives her a sense of depth of like
Yeah,
what
which I
there's
think was
left.
smart.
Yeah, I thought that was like an accident, but it was helpful.
Oh yeah. No, I mean like it's smart that I should have rephrased it. I wish they would have done that, because like it does.
Why didn't they do that? I mean, I think the reason why they didn't do it from the beginning is like we have only a limited amount of battery for these, and so like
Yeah.
dropping something that's could break it. Like I understand,
Yeah.
but regardless,
Yeah.
so she gets on there. That gives her a sense of depth, and she eventually falls down. He asks if she's okay. She's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then we hear. I forgot what the noise is. We hear the lights come on.
Yeah. So no. Yeah. The lights come on and then they turn back off. Or
Right.
no, the lights are on and then they turn off or something like that.
That you
I
said
can't.
the same thing twice in a
I
row.
don't know.
So
Regardless,
regardless, the lights come
she's
on
like, shit, someone's down here.
and he's trying to pull her up and or he's pulling like this and she the lights go off and he pulls up the rope and she's no longer there.
Yeah.
So he ties everything off on the tree and he goes down. And then Jack then makes his way to the hatch because he's like, fuck this, I gotta go check on them, that kind of thing, because he
Yeah.
can't let them be.
Yeah, because he's just as manic as Shannon, to be honest. He
No,
is like,
honestly.
he has to be so controlling, and he's like, well, I have to know what's happening over at the hatch, and
And a lot of this has to do with the way that specifically, if it was just Locke, I think he'd be like, ugh. But the fact that it's Kate, I think is
yep.
the reason why he goes. So he goes down there and he doesn't see Kate or Locke. He sees that there's a cable. And so he hoists himself down. And then when he gets down there, there's
Some interesting sights.
yeah. So first there he sees what I like about the scene, the way it's shot, is that wherever his flashlight points is like what you're supposed to focus on. Like that's such a smart cinematography move to do.
Totally.
Because you're only really seeing what they want to, but it makes me want to rewatch the scene and see like what are the things that the light isn't hitting, like that you can kind of make out. I was trying to do a little bit of that, but
I will say there may have been some things you didn't see.
Probably
noticed.
But I did like that there were things that he was able to like see that there was a mirror on something. And like, I think he was trying to follow where that went. And he goes up to this like little, like almost crevice in a wall. And there's like a beam that looks like it's exposed. And we find out it's like hugely magnetic and like his necklace.
I can kind of explain that a bit better because it's kind of hard to see what it is in the scene. It's like a barricaded door. It's like a barricaded, like you could tell there used to be like a hallway there or a door there that has been since barricaded with like girders and like other things. Gotcha. And yeah, like you said, it's very magnetic.
Very magnetic. Like it is taking the necklace, like pulling it towards it. So then he kind of moves away from there and he like the lights come back on and like he kind of like, is that right? And he goes into the computer room.
Yeah,
like there's a reason why he like runs into that room.
There is one thing that I do want to point out. There's this like really interesting painting. So like whoever this man is down here must have been painting the walls, and there is a number on the wall of 108. Fun fact: if you add every single number from the numbers, it comes out to 108. So you might see 108 pop up more from time to time as like one of the other numbers that show up in the show.
Cool.
But yeah,
I did not see the painting, so I don't know.
Oh, you must have been taking the notes.
Yeah, I didn't see the
it's like a pretty long part. In it. So basically he like points the light at this metal wall and it has this very intricate like painting of like kind of abstract painting. And it has like a bunch of numbers and all this kind of stuff all over it. And he specifically hones his light on and it says 108 with like this like abstract painting of like someone.
I remember the 108. I just don't remember what the painting looked like or anything.
Oh, it was just like this like weird abstract painting.
Gotcha.
It didn't have any rhyme or reason to it. But yes, they go into this like.
But then we see him go into like this basically like kind of like computer like
a geodesic dome kind of looking thing.
And he goes to the same computer that's flashing the same like it's like a what's it called? Like
I always call it
this is it's backwards. It's backwards. I'm looking at this.
Oh yeah, greater than.
But it's this way. Yeah. We're good. Whatever. And then a colon and that kind of thing. And then it's like flashing, like with like the little cursor thing. We saw in the beginning, I think he wrote execute on there. The guy who was in.
I think one of the buttons said execute.
Oh, okay.
So it was like he was typing a bunch of stuff and then or typing a bit of stuff and then he hit execute.
And so Jack is about to press the execute button and we hear Locke say, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And so he looks up and Jack brought a gun with him and he's like, where's Kate? And like starts getting upset and like he's really off the rails. And then all of a sudden, Scotch guy like points a gun to Locke's face or side of his head and that kind of thing and reveals himself. And Jack's like, oh my God. But what I like about this moment is that I'm pretty sure Locke is clearly pointing with his eyes at Jack to shoot the gunman's hand, which is holding the gun to his head. So he's going like this.
Yeah, he's like, come on, fucking do
like,
it.
Come on, do this. So, but Jack is like taking it back because he's like, you. And like, that's where we end that portion. So he knows who this guy is because he ran into him that one time.
Which is shocking that he remembered him.
Sometimes those kind of people really stick out for you.
Yeah.
Especially since we get this background, which is a great transition into what the memories are of this episode, which is all centered around how he meets his wife, which we knew she had been in an accident, which had rendered her paralyzed, and that he was able to provide a surgery or perform a surgery that he thought would be unsuccessful, and she was able to dance at her wedding, but just not with the fiance that she had planned originally, and now she's marrying him, that kind of thing. So first of all, I thought they recast Julie Bowen at first because she looks so different with all like the whatever they did, the prosthetics and such, the makeup. They did a really good job like making her look very different, which I thought was good. I thought it was really interesting from the get-go. First of all,
terrible wig on Jack.
Thank you. That wig
was so bad. I was like, why did they really think that this was gonna like work?
It was so bad.
Yeah.
I couldn't concentrate on what they were saying about the two people in the accident because all I was thinking was like that, like I was the kid from Scary Movie Theory going, that's not fooling anyone.
Yeah.
Like literally.
There is one thing that I really noticed on a second rewatch of this. For those that are just now tuning in, this is actually my second time rewatching the series. I've only ever watched through the entirety of it once. I've seen season 1, I think 3 times, but this is basically my second time ever watching this episode since the first time I watched it. And I really thought it was interesting that in season 1 flashbacks, the way Jack talks about Sarah's surgery, it makes it seem like he got himself under control and he was able to save her life. But we're quickly learning that it was more of a miracle. He thought he failed the surgery in real life, and it just so happened she got saved. So it wasn't like because of his efforts. It was because of happenstance and chance.
Right.
And so it shows more about Jack's character and that he really doesn't want to admit that things that are outside of his control are really outside of his control.
And what's interesting here too is, and I don't know if there's really any significance here other than the fact that this woman that he saves ends up becoming his wife down the road, and we have this whole storyline. There's a moment where he's clearly trying to choose which patient that he works on when the two come in. And I misheard because I was so focused on the bad wig. Until the end of the episode, I was like, oh, I had that wrong. I thought they said that the guy in the SUV who he ends up not saving and he ends up flatlining on the table and dying next to him caused the accident. So I thought he was prioritizing the person who didn't cause the accident. But what we find out is that he prioritized the person who did cause the accident.
Yeah. Well, I think
which I don't think that's why he did it, but
I thought, and this could be me misremembering, the nurse got it wrong. So the nurse did say, he caused the accident. And so he chooses to save her and then learns later that she was the one that caused the accident. And
she admits it. So that's what I think was interesting. So I felt like he made a choice of who didn't cause the accident. And I thought that really speaks to him having this moral code, which doctors, when you take your oath, you do no harm, and you treat everybody, regardless
Yeah.
of how you feel about them politically, religiously, socially, whatever. Like, the whole point of becoming a doctor is that you do no harm and you don't turn away patients. So because he's triage, like, what you should have done in that situation is triage. She would live. You needed someone to put on the blood or the pressure and all that stuff. He needed to tend to her, to him, and he didn't. And I thought that was a really interesting choice to show that he's still, even though he's a good surgeon. I did say this to Dylan when we watched it. I think he's a good surgeon. I don't think he's a good doctor. There's
Yeah.
two different things there. You can be really good with your hands and you can be the best and the brilliant and all that stuff, but you can have shitty bedside manner. You can have horrible empathetic and emotional communication. And this is what we're learning about Jack, is that he is very focused on not understanding people.
Yep.
And a lot of that stems from the trauma of his father not learning about him and all that stuff. And we understand that. So it's interesting that we lead to the next memory where he's telling, what's her name? I keep forgetting. Sarah. He's telling Sarah that the odds aren't good about her being able to walk again, or to have feeling and like all this other stuff, and that, she could even die. Like, I mean, like he's not doing a good job of being like, but put your trust in me, and when he leaves, Christian, his father, actually Christian calls him out of the room, and he kind of gives, this is why I think it's funny, is that Christian is the one who like deprived him of this kind of hope. That kind of stuff, is the one who's instilling this. And I wrote a note that you would absolutely love to hear. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Dr. Mike would have a field day with this Christian Jack combo about hope.
You're obsessed with him.
I love him. He's a great doctor from what I can tell. But regardless, what I loved about this is like, there were multiple different kinds of doctors, and the doctors that don't take the time to get to know their patients, who don't ask the right questions, who don't understand or have emotional communication skills and empathy and those kind of things, don't always make the best decisions. They could go by the book. They could be brilliant. They could learn everything there is to learn. They could be all up on everything that's in a medical journal. But if you don't connect with your patient, and it's impossible to connect with every single person that you see. I'm not sitting here saying blah, 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 blah. Like, if you don't have a connection with everyone. Saying. But it was really interesting for me to hear this from Christian, because I definitely do believe like a part of like your job is not to give false hope. False hope, you need to be able to provide rational, this is what you can expect. This is what the results have traditionally been. This is what we're hoping for. And what you say hoping for, it instills implicitly that there's a hope for this. You don't tell them, hey, we're going to make you better. You can't promise that. So on that side of things, Jack is 100% correct.
Yep.
But you don't do it in a way that instills absolutely no hope, because if there is hope, then patients are more likely to go along with it. And we all know that mental health does affect what's happening with your physical body. So regardless. So I thought that was really interesting. And then we have the Scottish runner moment, which we kind of talked about.
Give him a fake name. What do you think his name is? Do you want to know what it starts with?
I do, and then I will give you a name based off of that letter, but I don't want you to tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Oh, no, I won't.
Okay.
All right, it starts with a D.
Dean.
Okay.
That just was the first one that came to my head.
All right, yeah.
His name's Dean.
Come on, Dean.
Come on, Dean. So Dean, well, first we only see I didn't even see Dean on the stands. I only saw Jack running up and down, and then all of a sudden we see Dean is also going up and down, and he is huffing and puffing.
He
and
is.
He's really
doing
trucking.
thing. Yeah.
And Jack tries to keep up with him. He trips. He hurts his ankle. The guy comes over and he's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "You shouldn't try to keep up with me." And he's like, "I wasn't trying to." And you're like, "Yes, we were." And, and then he's like, they have that whole conversation about faith and all that other stuff, and that
Jack's kind of like, I made a promise that I couldn't keep, and that's why he's like so depressed right now.
Yeah. And again, he says, you need to keep it, you need to lift it up or keep it lifted or something like that. I don't know what
he's like, you need to rise up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I mean your ankle.
And he was like, and
then he got a fucking boner and
then he stood up and there was a huge boner in his face and he was like, and then that was the first time Jack sucked a dick, and then that led to Jack wanting to suck a bag of dicks, and then that made Beth happy.
I love that connection. I was like, where is she going with this? Where is she? Oh, love it.
And then the last scene of the memories is him going to visit Sarah post-surgery to tell her that he wasn't able to fix her and that he feels bad about it. And she's like, "You smell bad." And he was like, "Yeah, I was just running," and that kind of thing. So once again, horrible doctor. What doctor doesn't maintain good hygiene when visiting a patient freshly out of surgery who is at risk for infections?
Yeah.
Like, you dumb fuck. Like, what is wrong with you?
Also, doesn't know what a hair salon is, apparently, and like looking like a mess.
Like, seriously. And I literally wrote, all underlined, why would a doctor not shower before seeing a patient? Like, it's literally my last note. I was so upset I couldn't write anything more.
It's really dumb. But the point here is that Jack doesn't believe in miracles. And so he is like basically discounting everything. There's no way you're definitely going to be paralyzed for the rest of your life.
And then she said, "How come I can wiggle my toes then?" And he's like, and then she wiggles his toes.
It kind of. She slapped him across the face and said, "Bitch, then why the fuck can these toes wiggle, honey?" And then she not only wiggled her toe, she took her whole fucking leg and went, she shook her whole leg. You know, like the meat of your leg. She jiggled the meat of her legs.
I did miss a portion of the memories.
The fiance?
The fiance.
It's not even that like big of a deal, but it just shows that men are pigs. Men are pigs.
Men ain't shit. I've said it before. I will say it many times again. Men ain't fucking shit, especially straight men. You ain't fucking shit. You ain't shit.
Can you imagine, quote, loving someone and learning that they could be paralyzed, and your first response is, "But can they fuck?"
But, and like, I completely understand being overwhelmed and second guessing and all those kind of things about the 24-hour care she might need and like all these things for the rest of her life. That is understandable. I'm not going to sit back and say that somebody is awful because they have a moment of like, oh, we got to do this. Or if they decide that that's not right for them, honestly, that is their prerogative. It's pretty shitty, but that is fine. If your first thought is, "You mean I can't stick it in her anymore?" That is fucked up. And I think I was also especially like, I know it's not the same thing, but like, I'm just like so like fired up about this like Texas law thing that I'm even more like, fuck men who want to fuck women. Fuck them. Like, that's literally like where I'm at too. So anyway.
Men, get a fucking vasectomy. If you don't want women having kids,
they should be mandated. Vasectomy. Yeah. Also, okay, time out. This has nothing to do with vasectomies or anything like that, but it just made me think of this. I saw this on, I fucking loved this. Somebody was like, if you know somebody who's on Viagra, but it refuses to take the Pfizer vaccine, bitch, they're from the same fucking company.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
I feel like they said, so if they can rise something from the dead, they can keep you alive as well.
Oh my God, that's so stupid.
A dead. Anyway.
And that's what Jack actually said to
Julie Bowen's legs. So I don't know.
That's why she could move her toes.
Yeah. So basically what I see here though is more of the reasoning as to like why he feels connected with her is this like, it's the one miracle that he kind of believes in. And
Yeah.
therefore, that's why I feel like he marries her. And
I don't
we
think he
do know,
loves her. I think
no, I think
he's
he's
just like,
like,
oh shit.
I think that he feels like Locke feels like that this was a destiny. Like he's supposed to marry her, but that didn't work out because we know he's divorced.
Yeah.
So therefore, he's like trying to preemptively save Locke, knowing that destiny ain't shit. Like that's where I think his perspective is.
Okay, yeah, that's a good take on that for sure. I think that there is a potential there.
Mhm.
So now that we've covered basically all of Man of Science, Man of Faith, you already said your LVP was Jack. Who's your
Hard.
MVP?
Yeah. Okay.
I have one in mind, but I'm curious.
For the first time,
Oh, here it is. I think this is what's gonna happen.
Kate.
Yes, of course. That's what
Yeah.
I would have said too, Kate, for sure.
I love this independent Kate. I love that she follows Locke. I love that there's a sense of, adventure with her, a willingness to play along, to defy
Yeah.
the rules, to like that kind of thing. And I do think that it's going to be interesting having. This isn't the way I thought this would go with the leadership roles, but you have two of the three leaders and Kate down in the bunker now, in the hatch.
Yep.
And I think Saeed is going to become the de facto leader above ground. I don't think anybody else is going to go down there. I don't think there's going to be a rescue mission. I think they might try to yell down. They might try to figure out what's going on. But I think that they're going to be like, until people come back up, like nobody else is going down there. We're going to stay up here. And I think that Saeed inadvertently is going to become the leader there. And I think Hurley is going to be steadfast and like nobody else goes down there because that's bad luck and all that kind of stuff. So, but regardless, I think Kate is going to have some really interesting kind of, she's going to actually probably be the middle person, not Saeed like I thought. I think she's going to be the middle person between Jack and Locke. But I think that she's going to actually side more with Locke because like she has shared goals with him in a weird way. But even though she understands Jack.
That is very interesting. I'm gonna
and
tell you,
right. It's 100% right.
So right. I'm gonna tell you the name of the next episode that we'll be watching, and you guess who you think it is a centric episode of.
Okay.
It is called Adrift.
I think Michael.
That is correct.
It's gotta be. Well, because like, first of all, you have the raft, but also adrift would also be like you're adrift, you're away from your son. So like, I think it's a Michael centered. Yeah.
It is definitely a Michael centered episode. It is a very interesting one. That's for sure.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
And similarly, like we said, for those that don't know, we also cover The Nanny, which those episodes go up on Tuesdays. This definitely sets the tone for what you're going to experience in season 2. Lots of mysteries, lots of like things that you may or may not have ever thought about coming to light in season 2, from season 1, and like kind of peeling back the layers of what is this island and what is like the purpose of some of these mysteries is kind of unveiled in season 2. So I'm very, very excited for us to cover all of season 2. This is probably one of my favorite seasons of Lost. I really like season 2 and I really like season 3. So this is going to be an interesting one.
I'm excited. I can't wait. For the record, I did ask Dylan if we could watch the first 2 episodes since he thought they should be together as one season premiere. And he said no. So fuck Dylan.
No, yeah.
Very much. Just because I was trying to cheat the system.
Yeah. I the only reason I think that they should be shown together is because the first episode of this season definitely is like all about the hatch. And it feels weird not to cover anything about the raft at all. And so I'm like, I wish they would have just like filmed these together because you do still get some stuff from the hatch in episode 2. So it's not like they just don't cover this anymore. Right. It's just like you get a standard episode and you also get some stuff for the raft. And so it's going to be an interesting one. I can't wait. But thank you all so much for watching this episode of Hot Mess Moments, our covering of season 2, episode 1 of Lost. If you are new here, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Mess Moments. Check me out at 8bit Dylan. That's 8BITDYLAN.
And you can also check me out at AugustaWind11. That's AUGUSTAWIND11.
Alphabet soup.
I wanted to see how fast I could do it. I'm actually pretty impressed with that.
That was really good.
To be honest, I did read it on my screen as I was doing. It's not like I came up without the top of my head. AUGUSTA.
I'm proud of you. But we will be back next week on Thursday with another episode of us recapping Lost Season 2, Episode 2, Adrift. Until then, stay awesome, stay beautiful, avoid smoke monsters, and if you see a giant hole in the ground, maybe don't go in it.
Or
until then, or do. Depends how deep that hole is. Bye.